Hello, folks. How y'all doing today? Today we're going to read some excerpts that I took a long time back from Teddy Roosevelt, his New Nationalism speech when he was running for a second term on a third-party platform. At any rate, if you're interested, it's called New Nationalism. Excerpts from a New Nationalism. Teddy Roosevelt. Our government must be freed from the sinister influence or control of special interests. The great special business interests too often control and corrupt the men and methods of government for their own profit. We must drive the special interests out of politics. Every interest is entitled to justice, but not one is entitled to a vote in Congress, to a voice on the bench, or to representation in any public office. The Constitution guarantees protection to property, and we must make that promise good, but it does not give the right of suffrage to any corporation. The true friend of property is he who insists that property shall be the servant and not the master of the commonwealth, who insists that the creature of man's making shall be the servant and not the master of the man who made it. It is thus that the citizens shall effectively control the mighty commercial forces which they themselves have called into being. There can be no effective control of corporations while their political activity remains. To put an end to it will be neither a short nor an easy task, but it can be done. It is necessary that laws should be passed to prohibit the use of corporate funds directly or indirectly for political purposes. It is still more necessary that such laws should be thoroughly enforced. Corporate expenditures for political purposes have supplied one of the principal sources of corruption in our political affairs. Now, this is still true today, and is even more true than it was when he wrote this a century ago. To continue, there is a widespread belief among our people that special interests are too influential. This is true. These methods have put a premium on selfishness, and naturally, the selfish big interests have gotten more influence. The duty of Congress is to provide a method by which the interest of the people shall be all that receives consideration. The duty of the Congress is to provide a method by which the interests of the people shall be all that receives consideration. Boy, those more beautiful words in English prose have never been written. I can see that being made into a constitutional amendment. Let it be enacted that. To this end, there must be wholly removed the possibility of political pressure or of improper business influence. The absence of effective restraint upon unfair money getting, this is his word, not mine, has tended to create a small class of enormously wealthy and politically or economically powerful men whose chief object is to hold and increase their power. The prime need is to change the conditions which enable these men to accumulate power, which it is not for the general welfare that they should hold or exercise. We grudge no man a fortune which represents his own power and sagacity when exercised with entire regard to the welfare of his fellows. We grudge no man a fortune in civil life if it is honorably obtained and well used. It is not even enough that it should be gained without doing damage to the community. We should permit it to be gained only so long as the gaining represents benefit to the community. No man should receive $1 unless that dollar has been fairly earned. Every dollar received should represent a dollar's worth of service rendered. Not gambling in stocks, but service rendered. The people of this nation suffer from periodic financial panics. There is no reason why we should suffer. Bankers bail out anyone. Bankers bail. It is of profound importance that our financial system should be so thoroughly and effectively revised as to make it certain that hereafter our currency will no longer fail at critical times to meet our needs. Everything that Teddy's talking about here is now more than ever is just burning. Now, from money it goes to what I would like to call conservationism. Now, for those of you who I believe we need an earth to live on. I can't make it any more simple. Teddy says, I recognize the right and duty of this generation to develop and use the natural resources of our land, but I do not recognize the right to waste them or to rob, by wasteful use, the generations that come after us. I do not ask of the nation except that it so behave as each farmer here behaves to his own children. That farmer is a poor creature who skins the land and leaves it worthless to his children. That farmer is a good farmer who, having enabled the land to support himself and to provide for the education of his children, leaves it to them a little better than he found it. I believe the same thing of a nation. Moreover, I believe that the natural resources must be used for the benefit of all of our people, all of our people. The others can go away, and not monopolize for the benefit of the few. And here again is another case in which I am accused of taking a revolutionary attitude. People forget now that 100 years ago, we took the proper democratic ground that the land should be granted in small sections to the men who were actually to till and live upon it. That's the Homestead Acts he's referring to. Yeah, that was Thomas Jefferson's line, and that's 100%, baby. 100%. Hey, this is great stuff. Really, you should read all of these people. But I'm going to continue if anyone would like to stay with me. Back to Teddy. Now, with the water power, with the forests, with the mines, we are brought face to face with the fact that there are many people who will go with us in conserving resources only if they are allowed to exploit them for their benefit. This is one of the fundamental reasons why the special interest should be driven out of politics. Of all the questions which can come before this nation, short of the actual preservation of its existence in a great war, there is none which compares in importance with the great central task of leaving this land even a better land for our descendants, than it is for us, and training them into a better race to inhabit the land and pass it on. I can see that being a new preamble for a constitution. Of all the questions which can come before this nation, short of the actual preservation of its existence in a great war, there is none which compares in importance with the great central task of leaving this land, an even better land for our descendants than it was for us, and training them into a better race to inhabit the land and pass it on. I almost weep when I read that. Oh my God. Thus, conservation is a great moral issue, for it involves the patriotic duty of ensuring the safety and continuance of the nation, the people, the folk. Let me add that the health and vitality of our people are at least as well worth conserving as their forests, waters, lands, and minerals, and in this great work, the national government must bear a most important part. He is absolutely correct. We are face to face with new concepts of the relations of property to human welfare, chiefly because certain advocates of the rights of property as against the rights of men have been pushing their claims too far, and boy have they been. Folks, Teddy wrote all this before the Immigration Act of 1964, before the destabilization of the currency in the 1970s, before all those bankers' bailouts and foreclosures of the 80s, before the amnesty of the 80s, before the absolute destruction of our economy in the 90s and the pillaging of it in the 2000s. Okay? Now, these people have been pushing for sure. Now, back to Teddy here. The man who wrongly holds that every human right is secondary to his profit must now give way to the advocate of the folk's welfare. That's my wording. Who rightly maintains that every man holds his property subject to the general right of the community to regulate its use to whatever degree the public welfare may require. Absolutely goddamn right. Common good over selfish interests. Common good over selfish interests. Common good over selfish interests. Let us admit also the right to regulate the terms and conditions of labor, which is the chief element of wealth, directly in the interest of the common good. The fundamental thing to do for every man is to give him a chance to reach a place in which he will make the greatest possible contribution to the public welfare. Understand what I say here. Give him a chance. Not push him up if he will not be pushed. Not make him work if he will not work. If he is a worthy man, we will try our best to see that he gets a chance to show the worth that is in him. No man can be a good citizen unless he has a wage more than sufficient to cover the bare cost of living and the hours of labor short enough so that after each day's work is done, he may have time and energy to bear his share in the management of the community to help in carrying the general load. Absolutely truth. I ask that we work in a spirit of broad and far-reaching nationalism when we work for what concerns our people as a whole. We are all part of the people. We are all part of the people. Our common interests are as broad as the homeland. The national government belongs to the whole people, one nation. And where the whole national people are interested, that interest can be guarded effectively only by the national government. The betterment which we seek must be accomplished, I believe, through regaining control of our instruments of government. Teddy wrote before the subversion, remember. It's why he was put down by the plutocrats of his day. Now back to Teddy. The people are right in demanding new nationalism, without which we cannot hope to deal with our problems. The new nationalism puts the national need before personal advantage. It is impatient of the utter confusion that results from local legislatures attempting to treat national issues as local issues. It is still more impatient of the impotence which springs from overdivision of governmental powers, the impotence which makes it possible for local selfishness and or legal cunning hired by wealthy special interests to bring national activities to a deadlock. This new nationalism regards the executive power as the steward of the public welfare. It demands of the judiciary that it shall be interested primarily in the folk's welfare rather than in property, just as it demands of the representative body that they shall represent the people as their highest duty. I paraphrased that a bit. Boy, I love that. It believes in shaping the ends of government to protect property as well as the folk's welfare. Normally and in the long run, the ends are the same, but whenever the alternative must be faced, I am for men and not for property. I am far from underestimating the importance of dividends, but I rank dividends below human character. Those who oppose all reform will do well to remember that ruin in its worst form is inevitable. If our national life brings us nothing better than swollen fortunes for the few and the triumph in both politics and business of a sordid and selfish materialism. If our political institutions were perfect, they would absolutely prevent domination of money in any part of our affairs. We need to make our political representatives more quickly and sensitively responsible to the people whose servants they are. More direct action by the people in their own affairs is vitally necessary. It is particularly important that all monies received or expended for campaign purposes should be publicly accounted for, not only after election, but before election as well. Political action must be made simpler, easier, and freer for confusion for every citizen. I believe that prompt removal of unfaithful or incompetent public servants should be made as easy and sure in whatever way experience shall show to be most expedient in the given case. Recalls and referendums. One of the fundamental necessities in a representative government such as ours is to make certain that the men to whom the people delegate their power shall serve the people by whom they are elected, and not the special interest. I believe that every national officer, elected or appointed, should be forbidden to perform any service or receive any compensation, directly or indirectly, from interstate corporations, and a similar provision could not fail to be useful within the states. The object of government is the welfare of the people. The material progress and prosperity of a nation is desirable chiefly so far as they lead to the moral and material welfare of all good, loyal folk who are citizens. just in proportion as the average man and woman are honest, capable of sound judgment and high ideals, active in public affairs, but first of all, sound in their home life, and the father and mother of healthy children whom they bring up well, just so far and no further may we account our civilization a success. We must have a genuine and permanent moral awakening, without which no wisdom or legislature or administration really means anything. And on the other hand, we must try to secure the social and economic legislation without which any improvement due to pure moral agitation is necessarily evanescent. For no matter how honest and decent we are in our private lives, if we do not have the right kind of law and the right kind of administration of law, we cannot go forward as a nation. That is imperative. But it must be an addition to and not a substitute for the qualities that make us good citizens. In the last analysis, the most important element in any man's career must be the sum of those qualities, which in the aggregate we speak of as character. If he has no character, no administration of law by the boldest or strongest executive will avail to help him. We must have the right kind of character that makes a man, first of all, a good man in the home, a good father, a good husband. That makes a man a good neighbor. You must have that, and then in addition, you must have the kind of law and the kind of administration of law which will give to those qualities in the private citizen the best possible chance for development. The prime problem of every nation is to get the right type of good citizenship. Excerpts from Theodore Roosevelt, President of the United States. I'm going to edit these, and thank you. Have a nice day.